Hello everyone, Baconstache here. Today we're going to do some reacts to some video. Let's get started, shall we? We're going to watch AAA Gaming is in big trouble.
Hey, I'm not sure if you get the memo, but AAA Gaming is dying. That's right. If you happen to
Really?
see the thousands of other videos on this topic, it would appear that AAA games are in big trouble.
I don't think they
if
are.
You're a fan, though, enough.
For real though, like honestly, it's not always that's not always the case. That is not always the case, and like this Microsoft game show that we just got done watching today proves that not all AAA is dead.
For these companies are still doing fine, releasing blocks.
I don't think the AAA games are dead. I think this is just clickbaity titles that they're trying to, give us. I don't think it means much, actually, to be honest.
Blockbuster titles and making billions of dollars, but it does seem in many ways this portion of the industry has been collapsing under its own weight as of late. Think about how often we've seen these new big AAA games launching and failing.
To be fair, like I could have told you Forspoken was
gonna be yeah. Forspoken is a total garbage. I fucking hate this game. I haven't even played it. I just saw gameplay and this was enough for me to know that this is a piece of shit that I don't want to get near to with a 10-foot pole. So yeah.
Like, I don't know who the executives in the room were that thought this was a good idea, but they're dumb.
Whoever thought that was a good idea is probably not a gamer. I'm certain of it. They're just some business people. They probably had some sweet baby Inc. kind of company come and like tell them what they should do. Kind of remind me of what was it? Lord of the Ring and the Two Towers. And you have like that guy with the green skin who is whispering to the king that the king is under influence of some strong magic, and he's whispering him what to do with the people of the town and his kids and everybody. Yeah, that's kind of a sweet baby Inc. kind of a situation.
Yeah, so like that's it. It was just stupid. Like, you shouldn't have done it. Like, anybody could have told you that.
By most metrics. I mean, recently we had a few high-profile examples. Suicide Squad killed the Justice League, the live service game from...
Yeah, like, whose idea was it to make Harley Quinn less hot?
True.
What kind of a fucking idiot thought that was a good idea?
Yeah.
What a stupid thing to do. Some dumbass. Do you think anybody gives a fuck about Harley Quinn? Nobody cares about Harley Quinn. They just liked her because she's hot. The fuck? How can you be so stupid?
Well, actually, he's feeling the truth. So yeah, I don't know. Like, I'm not such a big Batman fan. How much of a personality does Harley Quinn has? Like, I know she goes crazy for the Joker, and she's kind of his minion, but does she have a personality? If I'm not mistaken, there is actually a movie for Harley Quinn, isn't it? Isn't there? If there is one, I actually need to sit down and watch it. Let me see. Harley Quinn. Oh, this is how you write Queen. Okay, Harley Quinn movie. Is there a movie? Birds of Prey. Yeah, she actually has a movie called Birds of Prey. Okay, here is a movie for my watch list. I need to watch it. Yeah, I will see if she has a personality. I know that the Joker, like, I saw the Joker movie and it was fabulous. I loved it so damn much. I didn't know that you can sympathize with somebody so evil and mind twisted like the Joker. And actually, that movie showed me that it is possible. So maybe Harley is the same thing. I don't know how much of a personality she has, except from the fact that she is the villain. But maybe when they made a movie about her, and maybe there are separate comics about her that actually develop her personality. Or maybe her personality is developed that I'm just not aware of because I'm not such a big Batman fan. Like, I don't know. Anyway.
Like, what's wrong with you?
Rocksteady launched in February, peaked at 13,000 concurrent players, and dropped down to an abysmally low 400 1 month later.
The funny thing is it's higher than it was.
Really?
Review scores
Damn.
around 60%
That's
from
not
critics,
good.
and according to its own publisher, sales fell far below expectations, resulting in a poor financial quarter. The net result of them developing this game, it cost Warner Bros. Nearly $200 million in losses.
Wow.
Keep in mind, it's a live service game.
That's a lot of money.
Spin-off of the much-beloved ship combat from Assassin's Creed Black Flag spent over 11 years in development.
And somehow it's worse than Black Flag. That's impressive.
Damn.
Cost Ubisoft over $200 million to make, and immediately post-release found itself in shambles and washed ashore. Review scores averaged around 61. The game accrued less than 1 million total players across all platforms, and apparently it is not expected to recoup its development costs. Not a great showing for the world's first quadruple A game. Both of these examples, I think, highlight
quadruple. What makes a game quadruple A? Like, I know what a triple A game is, but what makes a game quadruple A? What is AAA game? What definition of AAA game? Nearly 6 years, Microsoft announced a developer called the initiative to create a quadruple A game called Perfect Dark. The game got a trailer. So far, the definition of quadruple A seems to be game stuck in development hell. What do you guys think? Buzzword for non-gamers to make their stock look sexy. Ubisoft jumped nearly 20% since the 19th. The day of beta, I believe, despite what? In terms of a quadruple A game, oh shit. What? What the hell? Where did it go? Oh man, actually this is not good. Let's just go somewhere else. I guess that quadruple doesn't exist. It's just a buzzword, like they say. I know what triple A means. Here comes the quadruple A games, but what's AA and why do we call them that? Okay, we know what triple A is, but what does quadruple A means? Well, everything that I search for seems like quadruple doesn't really exist. So I think they just made it up.
The bigger issues for AAA games in general. Massive budgets, long development times, and no room for failure. Many of these games take on average 5 to 7 years to make, with development time for some of these titles exceeding a decade. And this time...
You know what that game, Immortals of Avenum, you know what that game reminded me of?
What?
It reminded me of, like, whenever you're a little kid. It's like...
It's like what?
No, that's a bad way to say it. It's like eating candy.
All right.
And like the colors are so vibrant and they're everywhere. It's like playing that game looked like eating candy until you're sick.
Oh, okay.
Translates to loads of money. In fact, I would say one of the biggest sources of problems for AAA gaming, period, stems from the fact that these games cost way too much to make. In the late 90s and early 2000s, the high end of development costs for games included titles like Final Fantasy VII and Halo 2, which both cost $40 million.
And
Warcraft, which cost $65 million.
And you're talking about games that were all big successes.
$1 million. But again, these numbers were at the high end of cost in the time frame between, say, 95 and...
Yeah, you got to keep in mind, like Halo 2 and World of Warcraft, like these were the top of the top.
Yeah,
this
true.
Was the cream of the crop.
2005. Most other games that we'd consider AAA of this time period fell well below the mark. The original BioShock was made for just $25 million. Legend of Zelda Ocarina of Time cost $12 million.
Okay.
Keep in mind, Ocarina of Time, like what year was that? 1996, 97, 98, something like that? So like what does that really mean nowadays? Probably more like, oh, I don't know, like I don't know, like 60 million, 80 million, 100 million. You think it's that much? Yeah, 1997. Yeah.
Solid cost $10 million. Call of Duty Finest Hour, $8.5 million. The original Mass Effect was reportedly made for under $3 million.
Really? Damn. Well, if you think about inflation, like even with inflation, it sounds like very, very cheap compared to other games.
It was also made for only $3 million. Can you believe that? But over the past 2 decades, things have become much more expensive across
right they did
to game development as well. On average, it seems that most AAA games nowadays will cost in the ballpark of $50 million, with many of the biggest games swinging well above that number. Breaking the $100 million mark included
GTA 4. That was a good game.
GTA 4, Destiny, and Final Fantasy 14. Games that cost over $200 million to make were Call of Duty Modern Warfare 2, Horizon Forbidden West.
Well, it's like you also, you can't bring out a new big game and then take a huge risk with something that isn't a guarantee slam dunk for the audience. Like Microsoft is doing it right with Gears of War. Marcus is about to fall off the edge, and who is it that stops him but his main man, Dom?
Yeah.
There's no bullshit. There's no, forced female counterpart character that's better than Marcus in every single way. There's no added battle pass or anything weird, always online thing. They're going exactly with what the audience wants. They know it will sell, and I fucking bet it's going to sell.
True. Gears of War, how is it called? P-Day? I don't know what it's called. The next Gears of War looks fantastic. I mean, I used to enjoy Gears of War back in the day when I got my 360. It was the first game that I've got with my console, and then I played Gears of War 2 as well, and it was amazing. But I'm more of a Halo dude, I will not lie. I prefer Halo over Gears, but yeah, I played quite a lot of Gears and I enjoyed it very much. It's a very, very good game. I don't have anything bad to say about it.
I'll be there. I will fucking be there. I'll be playing it. I think a lot of people
and man, the chainsaw. I love the chainsaw so much.
Are going to be playing that game. Let's not jinx it. Yeah, but what I'm saying is that's what it is, right? And if you take risks by for example, with The Last of Us 2, having that weird female.
Bro, I tried to play The Last of Us maybe 2 or 3 times already, and I never managed to get past the second stage or I don't know. It's it's in episode 1, but an hour and a half into the game, and I felt too bored to continue. I feel so bad because this game is so highly praised by everybody in the world, and I feel like an idiot because I feel like I'm the only person who do not understand what people find about this game to be so good. But taste is it's individual. Everybody has different tastes, so I guess I'm one of the outliers when it comes to this game.
Bodybuilder character, that's a risk. Why are you doing this? Why does the audience doesn't want? What the fuck is wrong with you? Making Harley Quinn ugly, that's a risk. Why are you doing this? Just make the game good, make what people want, and then you're not going to have any problems. Stop trying to force people to like things they don't like. It's just so weird.
Last of Us 2, New World, Star Wars The Old Republic, and Elder Scrolls Online. Spider-Man 2 cost over $300 million. Cyberpunk 2077, $400 million. Star Citizen has broken and counting the $600 million mark. And Genshin Impact ran in.
Now when I'm thinking about it, there were a lot of AAA games recently that didn't have good success. That's crazy. But, this is life. You can't always succeed. Sometimes you have to fail. But when it comes to big companies, failure is not an option. The amount of money that they drop on those games is just unfathomable.
At $700 million in development cost, although I do believe this figure includes post-launch support. Nevertheless, they're getting close to $1 billion in development cost for that game, although I think it's probably made over $1 billion at this point. But
yeah, Genshin's very profitable.
Regardless, between the fact that these games now take on average at least half a decade to make, and they cost so many millions of dollars, the result is little to no room for failure. And when a AAA game does flop, well, we've seen the outcome in recent months, with a round of layoffs announced every other week, and seemingly nearly as many studio closures. Surprise, most companies can't afford to take 5 years making a game that ends up not only not making money, but losing them $200 million. That is the opposite.
Yeah, it's like people always cry about the layoffs, but hey, you want to know a company that's not doing layoffs? I'll tell you a company. It's a fucking Capcom. You know why? It's because they're making Dragon's Dogma 2, a game that sold incredibly well. They're making a game like Street Fighter 6, which is, in my opinion, the most popular fighting game out there right now, besides maybe Smash, right? Which is, I don't want to get in that argument, but, Street Fighter 6 is, like, very well respected. People love Street Fighter 6. It's huge, right? It's great. Like there's that. And then there's also Resident Evil. They're making that. Then you have Monster Hunter. Capcom had a marketing campaign for Monster Hunter that just said, play Monster Hunter, and then it revived the entire game. Well, Warner Brothers can't do that with Suicide Squad. Fuck, no, they can't even pay people to play it. And Capcom's hiring more people. That's it.
Of what they were hoping for. And I think because of that, for the most part, AAA games are just way too expensive for them to take any risks. I mean, this is pretty obvious.
And there's a focus that, like, for example, people are focusing on, like, the facial motions of a character in a cinematic. Nobody cares about this. This doesn't matter. This impresses other people that are, like, professional reviewers and contemporaries in your industry. You think about all the facial movements in Armored Core 6?
Yeah, nobody does.
Or Elden Ring?
Yeah, Asmund is right. Like, nobody care about those kind of things. Like, I mean, they're pretty. I love them. I will not lie. They're nice and everything. But, like, whenever you make a good game, this is not one of the things that you consider whether it's important or not. This is not one of the consideration that you make. You can look at Elden Ring, like they don't have lip sync, and the characters sometimes don't look very realistic. Same with Armored Core, and both of those games are amazing. So
yeah, nobody cares,
right? He's
games
right.
that don't take risks get pretty boring after the 1,000th iteration that you've played.
True.
If 95% of the structure, design, and gameplay of, let's say, your brand new MMO plays exactly like every other MMO that I've already played over these past 30 years, guess what? It's going to get really boring really fast. And in an industry categorized as entertainment, if I'm bored, I'm out of here.
Right.
In which case, I'll stick around for a little while
then
longer.
write a bad Steam review after 1,000 hours and then play 1,000 more.
Damn you, game designers.
Writing and storytelling, for the sake is a risk. You have to include modern politics to be safe. Well, this is another really big problem, is that a lot of Western studios, I don't think that Western studios right now have the trust of the player base. And this is a huge issue that a lot of developers, or sorry, not developers, journalists don't want to talk about because it's not convenient for them and it's not part of the message, but it's huge. People, like, today, for example, there were so many games that had, like, a female protagonist.
Right.
And people just immediately wrote the game off as woke bullshit. That's just what happened. And, like, at the end of the day, you can call...
Yeah, this is because we became extra sensitive to all of this. And the reason I'm saying extra is because, yes, sometimes people scream for nothing. Like, I think that because of how much companies are trying to be woke right now, we became extremely sensitive to every little thing that might be translated into some kind of wokeness act. And yeah, the fans don't like it. I don't like it. I think nobody likes it. It's quite obvious.
All those people racist, sexist, wrong, bigots, or whatever. But at the end of the day, if there's enough of them and they're not buying your game, you're going out of business.
True.
Like, that's it. And I think the real problem of what happened is that Western developers, they've completely lost the trust of the individual player
They did.
That the
they lost
actual
the trust
developer
of the audience.
will tell a story that is authentic and true to a core belief that they have, and instead this message is being sent to them or being given to them in a way that is patronizing, inauthentic, or ham-fisted in a way that the company doesn't like. So basically, Western developers, like Eastern developers, do the exact same thing in a lot of cases, right? Like Final Fantasy 16 literally didn't sell in places in the Middle East because they required them to take out the gay relationship in the game. Which
really? They did?
Role to the game. And, you know, I think Dion is probably one of the most well-liked characters inside of Final Fantasy 16.
Huh, I didn't know about that.
They didn't take that out, and so it's not being sold there. And which is fine, right? That is what it is.
Yeah.
But nobody criticized them and said it was woke or DEI or anything like that. And the reason why is because the trust is there that Square Enix and Creative Business Unit 3, most creative name ever, are telling a story that is a story that they want to tell and that is authentic. So
I think that he is telling the truth. I mean, like, I think that you can give it to Square Enix that their audience have a lot of trust in them because they have done good by the audience for a very, very long time. They have a very, very good reputation when it comes to Final Fantasy XIV, and Yoshi P himself has a very, very, very good reputation among Final Fantasy players, which causes them to have more trust when it comes to the production of Final Fantasy 16. So this is one. So this point, I think Asmongold is right, but I don't think the audience are stupid. If they were making Resident, goddammit, if they were making Final Fantasy 16 woke, the audience will rally. I think the audience would have rallied. The reason they didn't rally is not only because of trust, is because they did the whole relationship, the whole gay relationship thing. They did it correctly. I mean, I think that the character, what was his name? Was it Dion? I guess it was Dion. Dion character and Dion friend or lover, however you whichever way you want to describe them, they don't matter that much in the story. Like, Dion is a very good, well-written character. The love between him and the other soldier has nothing to do with Dion. So you can look at Dion and you can just ignore the fact that he has a gay love relationship, and he is a great character. I think it's very hard for me to explain it, but I'll try to do it anyway. The thing is that the point that I'm trying to show is that whether Dion is gay or not does not changes how awesome and well written his character is. He is a good character, plus he's also gay. It's not like he is first gay and then he has a character. No, being gay is like a footnote. It's like something very tiny and not important to the plot of the story. And I think that what made Final Fantasy 16 Dion very good. And I think this is the problem with a lot of woke game, that the fact that a character is gay or lesbian or some other thing is the focal point that they focus on the game. They want to hammer it down to the audience. Oh, look, we made this character woke. Did you notice that this character is woke? Can you see that this character is woke? I think this is the problem. But in Final Fantasy 16, they just made a good character. You saw the character, and Square was like, oh, by the way, he's also gay. So I think the majority of the others were, okay, I don't mind. He's a good character. I like him. That's exactly how I felt, at least. So I think this is the point that companies have a problem with. is that they they love to relish and they love to display it very, very, like they are very proud, and they want to show and point out the fact that they made a certain character woke. We as the audience, we don't care whether a character is woke or not. We just want a well-written character that we can relate to and love. That's about it. Whatever he likes to do in his free time, whoever he likes to fuck, we don't care about this. This is none of our business. And this is where Square Enix did a great job.
So it's not even, the problem is not even representation or any sort of LGBT or women or anything like that. The problem is with trust and authenticity. And right now, Western developers as a collective do not have the trust of a huge amount of gamers.
Right.
And whether you want to pretend like these people don't exist or not, it doesn't really matter. Because at the end of the day, if you bring out a game like that and it doesn't sell, you're going to be out on your ass with a box trying to make a Twitter post to get a bunch of likes to make people feel sorry for you because you just got laid off.
Yep.
It doesn't really matter what your opinion on it is. It doesn't matter how you feel about the topic. The customer's always right.
True.
And if there's enough customers, you're going to be wrong. How do they get that trust back? I think there's like, number one, stop making posts about Pride Week whenever you have a esports cup in Saudi Arabia. Number one.
Okay.
Or Pride Month. Yeah, that's number one right there. For me, that's what it is. It's a joke.
Developing, but psychological manipulation. Yeah, these games cost too much money. They can't afford to take any risks, and the result is the bland mush of focus-tested, streamlined, psychologically optimized chum that we are so accustomed to. And don't get me wrong here. Hey,
yeah, I mean, this is like this is Diablo 4. Yeah, I mean, there's some good. Somebody's unhappy. They say I've got a cool dog whistles. What was the dog whistle?
Dog whistle. What does the dog whistle mean?
What was it? What did I say? Promise he has nothing to back it up, just little quotes to get your attention. Again, rats thrive on innuendo and inconsistency. My guy, good luck with all that. I left because you're a douche. Good. By the way, guys, the reason why he left is because he has no argument and he knows he's going to be made to look stupid. He will look like a fucking idiot. Because anything he says will be immediately disproven by, like, multiple examples. But he can't, and this is, again, rats thrive in the shadows. They thrive on implications, innuendo, and generalities. And whenever you pin them down, you get them in the rat trap, they start squealing. He's probably 14. Good. He's going to learn. It's a valuable lesson. I'm doing him a favor.
I enjoy eating my dopamine manipulating chum from time to time as well. It can be satisfying to turn your brain off.
Diablo 4 was a great season.
Hordes of monsters.
This recent one, I had a great time.
Lizard brain go burr. I'm not above it. I'm not better. Yeah. I'm no better than anyone else. In fact, looking for groups for uber duriel farming, by the way. Hit me up if you're doing it. I think the worst part, though, isn't even how these games are designed and focus tested into that mush, that gameplay loop, but rather because of the vast amounts of money and time it takes to make these, we the consumers end up on the brunt end of recouping those costs. Enter every microtransaction you've ever known. And I know you're sick of hearing the list, but here's the rundown. We, of course, have the box price for most of these games, but then there are the free-to-play variants, which inevitably will include some variation of subscription. Nowadays,
the free-to-play games are always the most expensive ones.
Yeah.
These are pretty much done in the form of battle passes. And then you've got the cash shops with the microtransactions. The cosmetics, that's the easy one. Everyone's happy to hand wave those at this point. Gone are the days of earning your cosmetics through playing the game. You pay imagine for them now. And then the convenience features, right? Where we spend extra money to bypass the inconveniences that were put into the game by the developers.
Intentionally to make the game worse, so you have to pay to take them off.
Want to spend that money. And then the most egregious variation is the paying for power, where you spend money to speed up your progression. This is also known as pay to skip stands for skipping playing the game. That's what it's for. And then to go along with these cash shops, with these sold convenience features and these powers that you're paying for, you will have these games designed aimed to pushing you towards the shop, such as having worse quality of life so that you want to buy the convenience features to bypass it, or having inflated grinds to push you towards purchasing that power and those skips. And now, man, we are AAA gaming. As I said in another recent video of mine, any game that sells convenience and or power of some sort, they are literally making the game worse on purpose so that you are given motivation to buy what they are selling.
That's a fact.
Yep.
Oh, that's a fact.
You're creating a problem to sell the solution to players. Yeah. We all know about that.
Fortunately enough, one of my favorite genres of games, the MMOs, the live service games, they are especially guilty of this. They're the worst offenders. And I think there's a nice separation that can be made between the AAA games industry for like the single player linear playthrough experience, and then the AAA game industry when it comes to those live services and those MMOs. A lot of what I'm talking about leans more towards that, although there can be an argument for a lot of these AAA games, single player titles as well. It's not really the portion of the AAA industry that I'm talking about. So anyways, yes, AAA games, they take forever to develop. They cost hundreds of millions of dollars. They're too expensive to take risks, which result in a lot of them feeling the same. And on top of that, some, especially those MMOs and live service titles that I love so dearly, it hurts me so much. They're all pretty much made worse in order to sell us microtransactions on the back end. So I think it's no surprise then, in recent years, a lot of the AAA portion of the industry is being put to shame by indie and mid-tier studios. Devs who started out making their game out of a Reddit thread, just like
last epoch.
Coming up with an idea on a Reddit post and saying, hey, let's make a studio and let's make a game. That's what resulted.
They sent me a box of stuff. I have it downstairs with my other boxes of stuff that I haven't opened.
I have massive respect for indie games because I think that the majority of them probably will fail, and the people who make those indie games take huge amount of risk, especially because of how small they are. So whenever an indie game succeeds, they have massive respect from me. It's very hard to do that.
I figured I'd open it next time I played the game.
In last epoch, or developers who admit they don't even really know how to make games and end up churning out Pal World, one of the biggest games of all time on Steam. It is absolutely crazy. We've got studios in many cases made up of 50 or less employees just demolishing the sales numbers and player counts of development conglomerates with tens of thousands of people working on titles for them. In the past 12 months, just looking at my own gaming habits, I can happily say some of my favorite games have been Enshrouded, Last Epoch, Manor Lords, No Rest for the Wicked, V Rising, Baldur's Gate 3, and Witchfire. Not to say that I haven't enjoyed any AAA games. Top of my head would be Dragon's Dogma 2. I had a great time with. I played a lot of WoW Classic, specifically Season of Discovery, and Diablo 4 I revisited recently and had a solid 2 weeks of entertainment, although I'm probably done at this point. But yes, a majority of my playtime with games over this past year has been with games made by indie devs or those mid-tier AA studios, and I think a lot...
Yeah, I mean, I went in on Enshrouded. Like, I played Pal World way more than Enshrouded. Pal World is terrible, man. It still surprises me someone played that. I played the entire thing. I'm going to play it again whenever the patch comes out.
I didn't like Pal World.
The reason for this is because these games...
Pal World is not a bad game, but to me it feels like it's like Pokemon from Wish. I mean, it's Pokemon from Wish with guns and, you know, enslaving animals, which is a very... Dude, it sounds bad when you say it, but it's a very good idea. It's a very smart idea because, like, the guys that made Pokemon would have never made such a game. And I think that is the reason why Pal World became as famous as it is. But personally, I didn't enjoy the game. Just my personal taste. Nothing because... It's not because, like, the game is bad. The game is not bad. The game is very good. Very good.
Are made by smaller, more cohesive teams.
I didn't do that, boss.
When you've got development studios like, say, Ubisoft, for example, who in a lot of cases will have many thousands of people working on like single Assassin's Creed games, a lot gets lost in the sauce there. Too many cooks in the kitchen, as they say, and you don't have that kind of streamlined focus and vision that you tend to get with these games made by smaller studios. Also, because with these indie studios and these mid-tier studios, you don't have budgets that are as blown out, which makes them a lot more likely to be willing to take risks and try new things. In fact, I would even argue that indie and mid-tier studios, they have to take risks, because in order to stand out as a small studio amongst the sea of many thousands and thousands of indie devs, you have to make something that feels novel and unique, and to do that, you have to try new things, you have to take risks.
I think there's probably a lot of truth in that like indie games, well, it's like not only do they have to, but they're the only ones that are able to. So it's like, yeah, you can always have an indie game that's really good at doing something that exists already, but he's right that like a lot of these indie games, the ones that really pop off are the ones that, you know, this is the circle of like what video games are, and they make that circle just a little bit bigger, you know, just slightly bigger.
What a lot of AAA studios just aren't willing to do. Get that argument that, hey, a lot of Assassin's Creed games all feel the same. A lot of the Far Cry titles feel very similar. Ubisoft isn't the only one guilty of this, but Call of Duty, I guess that's another great example. You get these big AAA studios that seem to churn out, again, those risk-averse products, whereas the indie studios have to take risks in order for anyone to even pay attention to them. And as a result, we get more novel and interesting concepts in some circumstances. And I think the cherry on top is the fact that for the most part, indie games aren't full of all of that cost recouping BS, those microtransactions, those cash shops full of convenience and power for sale, you know what I mean? They are just games that are sold to you many times at a base cost, and that is it. You just play it for fun. That's the end of the transaction. And again, this is mostly applicable to the MMO and specifically the live service portion of the AAA industry, but even some of it bleeds into the single player games. You're seeing single player games with cash shops and season passes as well.
This is what's happening, and they have to have the cash shop and the season pass, because otherwise the game won't be profitable. Because gamers don't want to spend more than like $60. Even $70 is too much for a lot of gamers. So like, you know, prices are going up like this. The price of the game is staying the same. So like, how do you meet those rising costs? Well, you do that with microtransactions. That's how it happens. And it's just going to become more and more common.
Escaped that portion either. And I do want to make it clear here, this isn't a I hate AAA games video, because I don't. And they have their place in the industry. I play a lot of them, and for the most part, this is what appeals to the wider market. Although I will say it has been great to see games from smaller studios reach the masses with titles like Baldur's Gate 3 from Larian, with Pow World, and even the Helldivers franchise. Really, really cool to see these smaller studios, these indie devs, strike out and get such mass appeal and get just such high player numbers and sales. Really love to see it. And yes, I myself do enjoy AAA titles. I play plenty of them, and I'm sure I will in the future as well. But there are definitely aspects of the AAA games that I'm just tired of, right? I'm just sick and tired of, and it's been so great. I've been so happy to have these indies and these mid-tier studios stepping up and putting up just like absolute bangers, just fantastic,
well, it's going to be becoming more common. It will become more and more common too, because like obviously something like Unreal 5 and the advances in AI are going to give people even more tools to create at a scope that they previously weren't able to.
Yeah.
A game like Pow World made as an indie studio 10 years ago is like unfathomable. The same as like Enshrouded even. Like this is completely unimaginable. So like in the future, we're going to see this become even more common, where it's easier to get to that AAA quality with like 10% of the resources. Unreal and AI comes from AAA. Yeah, that's true, but right now people that aren't AAA are using it, and they're able to produce content that people consider on par with AAA.
Yeah, better yet, no cash shop. That's a nice cherry on top. Long and the short is, I've been having a blast with a lot of these indie and mid-tier studio developed projects, and I hope to see a lot more in the future. They've been great stuff, and AAA games, I don't know what the future is going to be for the industry. Again, I'm sure they will be just fine. We're probably going to see more consolidation in the future. And I know a lot of the woes when it comes to things like layoffs and studio closures, they're not specific to the games industry, but nevertheless, that doesn't mean that there are no problems with AAA gaming, or that some of these issues aren't tied to how things go. A lot of what I covered here with AAA game development, the long times, the high costs, the resulting lack of willing to take risks, and the back end of the monetization tied into the development, parts of the game stripped so they can sell it to us, or made more inconvenient so they can sell us the answer to that. All of those things.
Well, this is what happened with Assassin's Creed, and it's what happened also with Star Wars, is that now, and also Yakuza Like a Dragon, I think, also did this, or Infinite Wealth, is that now gamers, again, it's the boiling frog. They don't realize they're being boiled. And gamers right now are in the perspective of they are being boiled. They know they're being boiled. And they're saying to themselves, it's okay. I like the heat. Whenever the game that you paid $70 for is intentionally incomplete so they can sell you again more copies, or sorry, a higher version of the game for $110. It's pathetic how gamers justify this. It's insane. They just keep coming back for more. They do.
When they exist sort of outside of the conversation of, you know, people who are investing aren't willing to spend as much money and take as many risks. That is also true. But yeah, I don't know. I've been loving some good old indie games nowadays. Hopefully you've been enjoying some as well. That does it for today's video, though. Thank you, as always, for watching. Hope you enjoyed. I'll see you guys next time.
And there it is. I wanted to watch this because I think this is becoming more and more true. And you're seeing this. Like, obviously, we had some really, really, really big AAA Ws today. Like, some insanely big ones, right? With Xbox. Xbox probably made... It was probably the best AAA game showcase that I have ever fucking seen, right? It was so, so good. It was insanely fucking good. However, that is not the majority, and that hasn't been the norm for a very long time. And it's disappointing to see, obviously, but I think over time you're going to see more of these indie developers making content and putting out games that are going to be able to compete with AAA in even more components. I think a really great contemporary example of that with graphics is Manor Lords. Manor Lords has insanely good graphics. It looks amazing, and it's also an indie game. So it's going to become more and more common. Dragon Age was hot trash. Yeah, I'm not saying that like every game was good, but I do think it's probably I do think that the Xbox Game Show this year is the best one that I remember. Like, I don't remember a game show that was better than the Xbox one this year. Why does interest go up? Food goes up, pussy goes up, but you're surprised the game costs $90 now? Well, at the end of the day, I don't have a problem with the price of games, but other people do. And also, if players are unwilling to spend that amount of money, then developers either need to meet that price or go out of business. That's it.